in Matthew 18:23 a parable. It talks about the kingdom of heaven being like a king who wants to settle accounts with his slaves. Now, there are debts that we have which we wish we could have paid off, and these debts are beyond our means, but over time they can be resolved. However, each of us has a debt which cannot be paid. Basically, our sin has cut us off from the holiness of God, and there's no way we can pay for that sin or resolve that debt. We are all deserving of the death promised to us. In the parable that we read here in Matthew, the debt owed to the king by his servant is far beyond the servant's ability to resolve the money owed. And the servant begs the king to give him time to pay the debt. How often do we begin to bargain with God when we find ourselves in a place where we cannot pay for the debts that we have acquired? We're in good company because Abraham bargained with God for his nephew Lot. Moses bargained with God for the Israelites, and David bargained with God for the life of his son. But does God require of us to bargain with him? No, he does not. We could never pay what is owed through the debts of our sins. So in this story, the servant's debts are forgiven by the king. And how does the servant respond? Well, he searches out those who have debts against him, and he gets them thrown in jail for negligible amounts. And in the shadow of such grace, the servant's reaction seems to his peers to be outrageous. And those who witness his actions certainly feel that way. They report his actions to the king, and the king has the servant thrown in prison. And this includes torture, and it happens until the original debt is paid. Now, how do we exercise grace toward others? At some point, isn't enough enough? Jesus told Peter that we should forgive those who trespass against us 70 times 7. The reason Peter asked was because of how Jesus taught how to respond to those who offend us. The wrongdoings of others need to be dealt with, of course, but biblical forgiveness is about releasing others into the justice of God. You see, our justice is not holy and perfect, and very often we respond with an increasing offense to whatever was committed against us. The weight of our sin in relation to God and in relation to others will never be equal. What we owe God is far more than anything others will ever owe us. Because of the payment for that debt, and because it was made by Jesus, we are expected to mirror that in others around us. When we feel the weight of our debt and the freedom from it, we should want to share that feeling of freedom with others. Now, Paul told us to examine our hearts and to go with those with whom we have debts against, pursuing forgiveness because we come to a common table of communion. We owe all to Jesus, and it is a debt insurmountable in its design, which we can never pay.